All right, may I have a motion to adjourn from executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Vice Mayor French, second by Mr. Snavely. Just a roll call, or is this a voice vote?
Voice vote.
Voice?
Voice.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Great. We will now begin our regular meeting. Ms. Barber, you may call the roll.
Ms. French?
Here.
Ms. Ornelas?
Here.
Mr. Snavely?
Here.
Mr. Finch?
Here.
Mr. Bracken?
Here.
Ms. Franklin?
Here.
Mayor Smith?
Here. All right, if you care to join us, we'll now do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor French, second by Councilor Ornelas. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We will begin tonight with public participation, and it's one of our most favorite things to do. We have a new officer to swear in, so I will turn it over to Chief Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council and members of the public. Tonight, as you said, we have a very special occasion. We get to swear in a new officer, and it's really special because she's one of our homegrown products. So tonight, we're going to swear in Elena Schwartz. And Elena, you want to come up here? So Elena Schwartz, or also known as, when we hired her, Elena Jones, was hired nearly 4 years ago as a part-time public safety assistant for us. So she did parking control and animal control and those things. She graduated from Talawanda High School. She grew up here in Oxford. Elena comes, as you can see, from a very large family. Her father David, her mother Sarah, her husband Lonnie, and many siblings are here. I know one of the siblings, she's a firefighter here for the city, so this public service goes hand in hand with what they're doing. So Elena was very young when she came to us, and we've had a pleasure to see her grow into the woman she is today. She attended Miami University while she was working for us as a PSA, writing parking tickets. Hopefully didn't write too many of you those parking tickets over the years. She earned a bachelor's degree with a psychology major and a Spanish minor. Elena was an active volunteer in her church. She was a mentor with Big Brothers Big Sisters. She volunteered in teaching weekly English as a second language courses. In August, she left for the Ohio State Highway Patrol Academy in Columbus. This is a very demanding academy, a very military-like academy. And she graduated in mid-January, and then she just recently passed her state exam and earned the distinction with honors on her APATA certificate. So Elena may be small in stature, but not so much in voice. Both times I went up to the Highway Patrol Academy to visit, she was the leader of the cadence. So she's calling out the cadences as they march. And then I had the pleasure of getting to see her talents put to get used to sing the national anthem for her academy graduation. So needless to say, we're all very proud of her, and we're excited to have her join us as the newest Oxford police officer. So with that, I'm going to ask the law director to administer the oath of office to Elena.
Hi, Elena. Some of the elected officials up there will tell you this is the hardest part about your job. If you would, please raise your right hand. I, Elena R. Schwartz,
I, Elena R. Schwartz,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and state of Ohio,
of the United States and of the state of Ohio,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions of the Charter
the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of the City of Oxford,
and ordinances of the City of Oxford,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of
the duties of
the office of police officer,
the office of police officer,
which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
I pledge to enforce
I pledge to enforce
the laws
the laws
of the City of Oxford
of the City of Oxford
and the State of Ohio
and the State of Ohio
impartially
impartially
and with integrity,
and with integrity,
never using my authority
never using my authority
for personal
for personal
or private motives,
or private motives,
but applying the law
but applying the law
fairly
fairly
and equally
and equally
to all persons
to all persons
solely
solely
in the interest of
in the interest of
the public peace,
the public peace,
safety, and welfare.
safety, and welfare.
I further pledge
And I further pledge
to so conduct myself
to so conduct myself
as to bring credit
as to bring credit
to the police division
to the police division
of the City of Oxford
of the City of Oxford
at all times.
at all times.
Congratulations.
This is unprepared, but I guess I could just express my gratitude to not only my chief, but my department for believing in me, supporting in me, hiring me at 18 years old, and like Chief said, just raising me into this. I'm really excited to get started with this venture. This is something that I've had a goal of doing for a long, long time. So I'm just ready to get started and see what opportunities open up for me. And thank you.
So as you can see, Elena's a natural leader. Like normally, I was going to ask her if she had any words to say afterwards. She just jumps right in. Most of them won't talk. So now we're going to do the badge pinning ceremony. Elena's going to wear badge 59, and her husband Lonnie is going to pin the badge.
That's when you have to have trust there.
So Elena will now begin her minimum 14-week field training process. She started actually last night working third shift, so that's where she'll be tested even more. But our expectations are high, and with those high expectations, we generally get high results. So we're looking forward to it, and I thank council for indulging us in that. And I know we got a presentation after this, so maybe if we could have all the people here for her swearing in go out front so we can get some pictures, that would be great. So,
All
thank you,
right.
Miss.
Thank you. And like the chief said, if you're here for the swearing in, you can go ahead and go and not sit through the rest of our meeting.
There goes the.
Yeah, leave while you can.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, well.
All right, we're going to move on to our Arena District Community Survey presentation. Come on up and tell us who you are.
Good evening, Council. This is Bree Fitzgerald.
And this is Anna West.
I first wanted to start by thanking you all for having us here tonight. Bree and I and the rest of our team have worked very, very hard on the research the last few months, and we're very, very excited that you guys are interested in hearing from us. So first, the basics of our survey. We had originally planned to make the survey as short as possible. That way, as many people can take it quickly, take it easily. It was open to students, parents, faculty, staff, alumni, and Oxford residents, and we also had others take it who were related to the Oxford community. We ended up having over 3,000 responses after cleaning our data. The QR code there links to our website, which you can find all of the initial findings and frequency tables. We have not yet published the final executive report, but we're hoping to have that up by Monday, so if you guys would like to take a look at that, that would also be awesome.
So through doing our research with this survey, there was 4 main things we were looking to find out more about. First off, we wanted to know how often and in what ways the whole Miami community, including Oxford, uses Cook Field and Millett Hall. Next, we were looking at what significant changes would happen if these facilities were to be changed or moved to a different location. Third, what the stakeholders consider the university's identities and values to be, and if they align with the proposed Arena District project. And finally, what do the members of the Miami community want to happen to Cook Field and Millett Hall?
So when we look at Cook Field and Millett in relation to Miami, we wanted to look at the use and importance. Cook Field had over 80% of respondents report that it was important to them. They also had about 65% report that they occasionally to very frequently used Cook Field. Millett Hall had a lower importance and was used less.
Then we looked at what the impacts would be if the facilities were to change from what they currently are. Overall, the majority of respondents said that location of what their activities mattered to them, and that moving Cook Field would reduce its use. As you can see by the chart on the right, up to 88% said that they would lose their area where they have leisure and green space, where they do informal physical activity, where they park, and organize sports competitions. Here it shows how the arena would affect attendance for sporting events. As you can see, especially at the bottom bar, that if there would be a new arena built on Cook Field, at least 50% of respondents to our survey said they would attend sporting events less often than already are, and that if a new arena were to be built where it currently is or to be renovated, only 35% would attend more often.
I think everyone can say that when you're looking at an investment, you want to look at the identities and values of the group trying to invest. Oxford and Miami residents value campus beauty, academic reputation, and the college town. They did not value athletics or athletic facilities as much as those others. Additionally, we asked respondents to choose 3 categories which they would invest in if they were given the money which is allocated to the arena. Our top 3 choices were student experiences and campus culture, career preparation and experiential learning, and reducing the cost of attendance. On the flip side, we had athletic programs and facilities and marketing, branding, and communication at 14% and 13%.
And finally, what does the community want? About 9 in 10 people shared some sort of concern relating to this proposed project. They'd be losing their green space, their area to park, and the potential opportunities costs not being invested in other areas. As you can see on that chart, almost 79% strongly oppose the project in general, and another 11% somewhat oppose, whereas less than 7% support the project at all. We also asked how the arena project would impact people's future donations to Miami University. Almost 70% would be less likely at any extent to donate money to Miami University should this project take place on Cook Field, and less than 7% would be more likely at any extent to donate more money to Miami.
Throughout the entire survey, we had lots and lots of responses. And surprisingly, they seemed fairly aligned. The major community sentiments suggest to preserve Cook Field as an open green space, renovate Millett Hall, or build a new arena at its current location, invest resources into what makes Miami University, and finally, mobilize the people, which are Miami's richest and most abundant resource. Finally, again, that's our QR code. Bree and I will be uploading an additional presentation, which is a little bit longer and more in depth. Does anyone have any questions?
Hopefully my voice holds out here. What would you say if someone suggested that this survey might be representing a self-selected group of individuals who might be more prone to responding to this survey because they're already opposed to this, this project? What would your response be?
So through this project, we have acknowledged, and it acknowledges it even more in our final report that is yet to be published. But we do recognize with the way our survey was taking place that there is some amount of response bias to it. As with most surveys, the people with the strongest opinions are the most likely to share. We did everything in our power to reach every group throughout all of the Miami community in the city of Oxford to give it the best shot of everyone sharing.
Thank you. I mean, that's the reality with most surveys, but I appreciate the response.
I mean, I guess the big question is, do you have any plans to take it to the Board of Trustees?
So we have been able to send it to them. At this time, they aren't asking us to present in any way, but we will be sending them the final report, and we have sent them the initial report.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming. It was very interesting to see your results.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
We
you.
really
Good luck.
appreciate it.
All right, we'll move on to appointments to boards and commissions. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move to appoint Sarah Driver and Roger Gates to the Personnel Appeals Board and to appoint Alan Kiger, Carla Blackmar, and Kevin McKeon to the Charter Review Commission.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We will move on to public comments. If you would like to make a comment about an item that's not on the agenda or the consent agenda, please come forward and state your name and address, and we will give you 5 minutes.
Good evening. Ann Fuhr. I live on Dana Drive in Southern Knolls. I'm going to speak in several roles tonight. First of all, I am the League of Women Voters of Oxford's official observer for Oxford City Council. I've been doing that for 3 years now, and I'd like to welcome the new members of council, Councilor Ornelas and Councilor Vinch. Welcome to the council, and I'd also like to congratulate Mayor Smith and Vice Mayor French on taking on new roles on council. After each meeting, I submit a written report that indicates whether the resolutions and ordinances voted on and comments made during deliberations reflect positions taken by the League at local, state, and national levels. The positions represent 3 areas of priority: democratic and sustainable local governing, social welfare and well-being of residents of the community, and sustainable interactions with natural resources. And every meeting I have at least one, if not a number, of your comments that reflect those priorities. They're always very positive. Thank you for that. The other official role I play in relation to city government is as chair of the Housing Advisory Commission. All of you members of council have attended one or more of the monthly planning meetings of OASH, the Oxford Area Solutions for Housing. And some of you have been highly involved really since we began, and I thank you again very sincerely for that. I serve as a member of the board of OASH, and we're a local advocacy coalition that has played a role in the planning of this year's emergency cold shelter, the Oxford Winter House. And I have one of our T-shirts donated by Lebowski's to planning members, and we just purchased shirts for all of the guests of the house. You may have seen the story about the Winter House in last week's issue of the Oxford Free Press. The story focused on the generosity of members of the community who have more than matched the city's already generous financial contribution to the shelter's operation this year. 8 faith communities were involved in the planning, and since December 12th, we've hosted 30 different guests, some staying one night, some staying the whole time since then. And 5 of their feline and canine friends. And I want to give a special shout out to veterinarians Raghu and Ray for examining and treating those members of the families. 4 of our guests have or are in the process of moving into stable housing, and 3 are employed. Today, February 3rd, is the date of the annual HUD point-in-time count for our continuum of care. So it's a special date, thinking about the need for resources for people who are unhoused. Only 13 guests, or our 13 guests, will be counted in the official Butler County numbers this year. And after we close on February 28th, we will focus on the path forward to a model of sustainable year-round shelter in Oxford. I occasionally make comments during public participation, and they're often of the form, I agree with what you're doing a good job, and I have a suggestion for you. As consulting director of Oxford Citizens for Peace and Justice, I'm committed to reallocation of resources to better guarantee human and civil rights of all members of the community, especially the most vulnerable. I am a member of Butler County Immigrant Justice and witness at meetings of the Butler County Commissioners. Last spring, a member of Oxford City Council said during a regular meeting that the chosen strategy was to try to fly under Sheriff Jones's radar. That is not possible when you are speaking out. For a variety of reasons, I haven't been here in person for a while, but I do stream the meetings. And I want to thank Kate Bowers for her comment during public participation at the last council meeting. No Kings 3 is scheduled for March 28th, and we are planning a rally uptown on that date. 1,500 people were uptown at No Kings 2, a number of people in this room. Given the degree to which atrocities have multiplied since last spring, I imagine there will be a crowd uptown. Even we who have skin color privilege, like myself, and protest are vulnerable. I would welcome a discussion with public participation of council and staff's reactions to Kate Bowers' request. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor French, second by Councilor Snavely. Any items to be removed tonight? All right, seeing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We will move on to resolutions. Ms. Barber, you may read the first resolution.
A resolution authorizing the release of a public improvement bond in the amount of $97,724 for improvements by Bronco Excavating Incorporated at 5186 Morning Sun Road.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Vice Mayor French, second by Mr. Snavely. I'll turn it over to Mr. Dreisbach.
Good evening, thank you. The city holds this bond for public improvements on the property at the Fairfield Inn Hotel. Water, wastewater, and stormwater improvements were made on behalf of the city. The city engineers accepted and approved the improvements, and we're past the one-year maintenance and guarantee period. We recommend council release the public improvement bond. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution before council? All right. Seeing none, council questions or discussion? It's pretty cut and dry. I drove through there the other day. It does look very nice what they did. So, all right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Barber, you may read the second resolution.
A resolution imposing a moratorium ending December 31st, 2026 on the acceptance of any new applications for any electronic signs in the city of Oxford.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor French, second by Mr. Snavely. I'll turn it over to Mr. Perry.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is a staff-initiated moratorium request that was actually inspired by a recent sign request by Brick Street Bar. So this moratorium, if it were adopted, would not affect the requested sign for Brick Street, but it would prohibit any others until such time that the code was completed. You may notice that we have some electronic signs around town, but they're just on gas station pricing. That was something that was allowed by the Board of Zoning Appeals back in 2010, and now we have a request to expand that into other types of signs. And so our belief is that we can get a zoning code in place that would better reflect what the city would like to see across the city. And so this would give us the time to do that while the zoning code is being drafted right now.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution before council? All right. Seeing none, council questions and discussion?
So have we got applications from other developers or builders or business owners for electric signs?
We have not. We get one maybe application every couple of years. It's pretty rare. And even if the moratorium wasn't adopted tonight, I think the risk would be pretty low. We don't get that many requests, but at the same time, it would be helpful to because there is a degree of driver distraction and for the ones that you maybe see in some of the larger cities along highways and roads. And so having this in place sooner rather than later would be wise, would be our recommendation.
Mr. Snavely.
The sign in question is the most prominent sign in the city. And so it sort of seems like we're closing the barn door right after the horses have left. And saying that, I also believe it's a good idea, and I think we can just hope that the Board of Zoning Appeals handles the case that's before them appropriately. I'm not opposed to electronic signs. I do think that there have to be some constraints on them, and I think that this moratorium is effective in giving you the time to write those up, and perhaps you'll hear something from BZA that would help inform that as well.
Thank you.
Let's get Jason first.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the safety concerns in terms of distraction, especially depending on some locations. I could think it'd be really easy to hit a pedestrian if you were trying to read off of electric sign. Is that the biggest concern, the safety, or is it more aesthetics, or?
It's both.
Both.
Yeah, it's both. And the HAPC had actually ruled on the one in question already and put some parameters on it that would help to curb that. But those are very specific to that case. And so if you're familiar with constitutional law and First Amendment, it's a very protected act, free speech. And so we want to make sure that we take the proper time to write the code such that free speech is allowed, but done in a way that is safe and reflects the community's values.
There are also ODOT regulations as it relates to, I'll use the phrasing, flashing signs, and they have to be fixed for a minimum of 8 seconds for driver distraction purposes. And locations, et cetera. 8 seconds does not seem like a long period of time.
I've read some things that suggested that signs that said "Don't be distracted" were distracting.
Councilor Nellis?
Thank you. I agree with this halt for a while until December. There are a lot of citizens in town who are really concerned about the impact of light pollution in town, especially with a lot of new builds that have happened, and especially with some planned builds going on. So I think it's really important that we take a hard look at this particular issue. So thank you.
There's another, with the technology on the signs, they actually have programmable dimming, so they're brighter during the day, and then they dim as the evening gets darker.
Jim?
So beyond the constitutional or First Amendment issues and the ODOT regulations, what guiding principles will BZA use to determine whether or not the Brick Street sign is acceptable or not?
So they've had one case already, and that was regarding an appeal of the zoning administrator's decision. And there may be another case, there may not be. So they have had one ruling. And it's based on the 7 decision standards. They're called the Duncan Standards from the Ohio Supreme Court back 30 or 40 years ago. So it's really specific to, actually, no, that's a variance, I'm sorry. The appeal is just if the code was interpreted incorrectly. And so the BZA did uphold the staff determination that replacing an existing manual changeable copy sign, if you're familiar with the sign in question, with the letters that physically have to be changed, that replacing that with electronic is not considered sign maintenance. That's a new sign. So the BZA already did make a ruling on that. So it's possible that they could apply for a variance to apply for a type of sign technology that's not allowed by the zoning code, but that has not been submitted or heard. So the HAPC, since it's in the historic district, has made a ruling on the appropriateness of it based on the coloration they're planning to use, and that they're not going to have moving and flashing animation on it. So there's several layers involved in it. But maintenance was the approach that they were taking, that the existing sign cannot be used because of the older methodology and the parts that are not able to be obtained. And BZA upheld the staff decision that was replacing with electronic was not considered maintenance.
That decision has not been memorialized yet. There were, if you recall, there were some changes made to the BZA in their process where the BZA asked for the right, which they can do under Ohio law, to enter into private deliberations on quasi-judicial hearings. And they chose to enter into private deliberations and quasi-judicial hearings. They're required to issue a written decision. That decision has not been issued yet. If you think about it in the context of how a judge might do it, the judge would say, here's my ruling, I'm going to memorialize it in writing, but I'm just telling you what we decided. So right now, the applicant has been made aware that the BZA was not going to reverse the decision of staff as it related to an appeal of the staff decision, but they did encourage the applicant to consider a variance because they felt that was the proper procedural process to follow.
All right. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We will move on to Resolution 3.
A resolution authorizing the use of digital signatures for the certification of ordinances and resolutions in the city of Oxford, Ohio.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion to adopt by Vice Mayor French, second by Councilor Franklin. And
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. This resolution would be allowing a adoption of new technology to sign our legislation. So currently, Heather and the mayor or vice mayor, when things are passed, hand sign it, and then it's scanned in, and then it's filed that way. And when we do that, it's difficult to search for records. And so it's what we're hoping to do with electronic signatures would be to have it stamped and signed right here. It's then saved that way, and then you can type in a search, and it's immediately searchable. We believe that this improves accessibility and transparency, and makes electronic storage more simple and searchable. Also, something I'm very excited about is we will work to include all exhibits with the legislation. So right now, the legislation passes, and it might say Exhibit A. And you'll see the legislation that says Exhibit A, but you have to go back to the meeting to find the Exhibit A. And so anyways, our goal would be then to just join that all together and save it all together. And then in addition to this, Heather would still print a paper copy of each piece of legislation adopted as required by our record retention policy, but we'd also have the online version. And this also includes, like, she has to stamp things, and so we have a digital stamp created, and this actually all emerged from we scanned something to the county that had passed, and they were like, we can't see the clerk's stamp because it had been one of those press ones. And so we literally had to kind of snail mail it so they could like feel the stamp, and this digital stamp would have taken care of that kind of minor issue. So we would recommend adoption, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Any members of the public like to address this resolution before council? All right, seeing none, council questions and discussion?
Yay. Somebody like you.
Yes,
who
yes.
sign and sign and sign and sign and sign, so you can't really remember how to sign anymore, your own signature. I think it's a very good.
This is an auto pen? Is this the equivalent to?
It'll actually be using Adobe Signature, and so when you do that, it locks the file down. Like, there are no more edits to be made.
Got it.
I know where you're going with that.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. My hand feels better already. All right, we will move on to ordinances. Ms. Barber, you may read the first reading of ordinance number 1.
An ordinance establishing a mayor's court and establishing Chapter 172 of the Ohio Revised Code. Of the Oxford Codified Ordinances.
All right. I'm going to turn that over to City Manager Elliott.
Thank you. So the Butler County Board of Commissioners approved a resolution in January to relocate the Area 1 Court to Hamilton, effective April 1st, 2026. As a result of this decision by the Commissioners, I'm recommending the creation of a mayor's court with an appointed magistrate to handle the court docket. The mayor's court will handle misdemeanor offenses, traffic cases, and other municipal ordinance violations occurring in the city of Oxford only. Currently, Area 1 Court serves the city of Oxford and 6 townships: Hanover, Milford, Morgan, Oxford, Riley, and Wayne townships. The city will have the added expense of at least 3 positions: a magistrate, clerk, and prosecutor. The cost of these positions will be offset by the revenue from the fines and fees charges. Also, the city will provide and manage a local diversion program. According to the Ohio Supreme Court structure of the Ohio judicial system, there are 275 mayor's courts in the state of Ohio, including Monroe and Trenton in Butler County. So on the legislative agenda is an ordinance to establish a mayor's court in Oxford. The ordinance will create the positions of magistrate, clerk of court, and prosecutor. The magistrate will be appointed by the mayor with the consent of council. The clerk of court and prosecutor will be appointed by the city manager. The magistrate and prosecutor positions will be part-time and contract employees. The clerk of court will be a full-time position with the city of Oxford. I expect that the mayor's court will meet twice a month, and later I will propose a supplemental budget for council consideration. So I recommend adoption of this ordinance after 2 readings. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance before council? All right, seeing none. Council questions and discussion?
Yes, Judge.
Will there need to be any more legislative authority to implement this mayor's court? I mean, what we have in the draft ordinance is pretty basic, bare bones. Like, is there going to be a statute or an ordinance that's going to, for instance, describe the scope of the court's jurisdiction, what kind of cases it can hear and what kind of cases it cannot hear, sort of monetary limits on like fines and penalties, things like that?
there's a chapter in the Ohio Revised Code that outlines what they can.
So it's just going to incorporate that by reference?
That's not in part of this ordinance.
It
but-
probably, well,
Well, yeah, I can address that. If you look at Ohio legal publications, which we are part of, and you go online and you look, they typically put a preamble in that explains what the jurisdiction of mayor's court is. And fundamentally, it's for, this court will handle, we expect will handle OVIs, which requires a magistrate with specialized training. But if a jury demand is made, it automatically moves the case to the traditional municipal court.
okay, so the Ohio Revised Code establishes the scope of the jurisdiction in detail, and we're just going to adopt whatever the Ohio Revised Code.
Correct, it's a statutory
We're not going
court.
to, we're not going to narrow it or anything?
That is not the intention. I mean,
Okay.
because the court can, the only, can't handle crimes of violence, I don't think you can do domestic violence, and OVIs can be done first offense, but not second.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right. We'll just remind everybody, we have to do this because they decided to move Area 1 Court to Hamilton as a cost-saving measure, so we'll be establishing our own
Well,
court.
it's really not much of a cost saving. It seems to me they're spending more money on their court in Hamilton than they are here. And I think it was a travesty, and I think it was also a travesty the way the court, the Butler County Commissioners is organized, because it didn't allow our city manager to speak before they voted. So they voted and then they took the comments from the public. It's absolutely backwards. It's designed to not let people have influence, and I think the whole thing is a disaster of Prosecutor Moser's making. That's my opinion.
All right, we'll see this again at
You've
our
got
next
another
meeting.
comment.
Yeah, I don't have any objections, and this is early, this is for first reading, but it would be nice to know the alternative options we have, should we go a different direction. And we don't need to discuss that now, we can discuss it next time, but
Well, I referenced the study that was done 9 years ago when an effort was made to have the city of Oxford create a municipal court. And we engaged consultants to study several options, including the status quo, a mayor's court, and a municipal court, and a few other options. And, we voted to stay with the status quo. Well, that status quo is gone because now they're moving it to Hamilton, and so I went to the next option, and that's the mayor's court. And as Chris stated, I mean, it's limited as to what they can hear. I mean, if someone requests a jury trial, it goes over to Hamilton. So, but those options were thoroughly examined then. And, there's the benefit of having a limited court here because we have several attorneys that practice in Oxford. And if you've been uptown on Thursdays, there's more activity during lunch, people buying coffee, and you have to wonder, will some of these law offices decide to downsize if we send all the cases over to Hamilton? So I asked Chief Jones to provide me some numbers as to how many cases they might consider in a year's time, and it looked to be like about 1,100, but that also included the civil citations that both police and fire and community development issue. So, I've collected information from other cities as to what their budgets are. A lot of that will depend on who we can find to be a magistrate because they have to have training, and that training is only offered once a year in January, so we'll need to find someone that already has that training. There's record keeping that must be done, and there's reporting that needs to be done as well. So, I wanted to make sure that council, and this will take place at the next meeting, is in favor of this option before we spend resources on developing this option.
Well, that's what I was asking, because I'm likely in support of this, but it would be nice to know all the options, including if we don't have a court, period, and what that means financially and for our budget and everything else, because it's a big decision we make, even though this likely seems the way to go. It'd be nice if all those options were laid out a little more.
Yeah, I would reference the, because I still think it's relevant, even though the cost figures are probably now higher than what they quoted in there. But I would refer you to that.
I would echo a few things. The creation, one of the options, the only two options functionally are this. You create a full-blown municipal court for the city of Oxford. That would require an elected judge. That would also mean the court's jurisdiction would include civil cases, so the eviction cases, small claims cases, other types of cases would come here. I don't think that on a full-blown municipal court, there's a volume of civil cases that would support the court. So functionally, the volume of the cases are being driven by the criminal case and the criminal cases that are going into the system.
But we have the option of no court, right? And that burdens the people who have these
Agreed,
issues.
and I think that when we've been talking about it, we've looked at how do we form it? This is the first step. We understand the mechanism of what needs to be done. We need a magistrate, i.e. judge. We need a prosecutor. There would have to be a contract with a public defender for those cases where they're indigent would qualify for representation. And then we would absolutely need a clerk, because the clerk is the brains of the operation, as it were. Everything flows from that. And then we have another dynamic too, which is I think that by moving the court so far away from frankly, where the volume comes from, students, many of whom can't have cars in freshman, sophomore year, how are they going to get to Hamilton? I think that you're going to see excess costs for police on warrant enforcement. It's problematic. But I do think that you're going to need to see a budget. We're going to need to know what this costs. But I would tell you that a break even would be a good outcome.
And the alternative options to that. Again, I'm likely in support of this because of what you just said. It's a service we would be providing to people who need it locally. So I'm likely to go that direction, but it feels like we probably shouldn't have like a 3-minute discussion about something that will last indefinitely and involves this whole.
Well, let me say this. Adopting the legislation and putting it into your code doesn't mean you have to do it.
True.
It's a placeholder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know, this could evolve into a municipal court, but if you have a chance to look at that report, what they point out is that many of the municipal courts are subsidized by the general fund. I don't see that with mayor's courts, but a lot of that depends on who we're able to hire for a magistrate, clerk, and prosecutor, and what our fines and fees are going to be. The other thing is, with the municipal court, that requires adoption by the state legislature. So you have to have legislation to establish a municipal court. This can be established by our own codified passage of an ordinance. And there are other steps that need to take place. As I said earlier, the next one will be to develop a budget, to develop a job description for the clerk, and to begin looking at hiring those 3 positions. So, when we have this in place, I'm not sure. I would like to set a goal possibly by July 1st, maybe sooner if things fall in place. But, there's a lot to take place right now.
So will this court have jurisdiction to bring regulatory enforcement actions the city brings?
I hadn't thought about the civil enforcement component, if you're meaning regulatory in the form of civil.
Yes.
I don't know. We do have a, we just had it today with fire code violations, that we have an attorney who comes in to hear the appeals of those cases. I don't think that there are many appeals related to the regulatory component, although they do exist.
Yeah.
I think that's something we should look into.
I think it would be informative to address some of the questions that Jason just brought up, just because the original study that you mentioned, Doug, was done 9 years ago, you said?
Yes.
Which may still be valid, and along with Jason as well. I would, at this point, be supportive of that, but it would be good to take pause and have a little more information, maybe have those numbers that the chief spoke about that we could take a look at.
Well, and one of the options, status quo, well, that's gone. They've eliminated that one. So, we're left basically with the mayor's court and the municipal court. And so the mayor's court is the least expensive option. So.
I'd like to support Roxanne's request to have a copy of that report.
I provided it earlier, I'll provide it again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
So again, I'm likely supportive of this, but the other option is we don't do a court, which probably isn't the answer, again, because it provides a meaningful service. But we want to know all the options before us, and the having no court has a whole bunch of implications about whether we stay here, what we do with this building, all sorts of things that are very large scale and important going forward in the city for a very long time. And again, we're not also deciding this today or even next time, but we should already start these discussions and have that information in our minds to consider. That's all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, maybe we could do a work session.
Do what?
Maybe we could do a work session,
Yeah.
Okay.
rehash that study. Okay, we will see this again in a couple weeks. We will move on to the next ordinance. Ms. Barber, you may read that.
An ordinance accepting the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve a preliminary subdivision, preliminary and final plan development, waivers and conditions for New Roots 16-unit micro-home community to be located on 2.19 acres of land at 5234 Hester Road.
All right, I'll turn it over to Mr. Perry.
Good evening again, thank you. I know that on behalf of the city manager's office and the planning commission, the city's excited to bring this forward. This has been talked about, this property has been talked about on Hester Road for a long time. So some people have called this round 2 of the cottage community, but this is a completely different concept, different developer. So the city has a stake in this, and Butler County funds through ARPA also does $500,000 to make this project happen. So they would like to get this underway recently or later this year. Planning Commission recently reviewed this, and I do have some slides, I think, be showing up on the screen to grant this plan development. And it's also a subdivision. So the location is on Hester Road. If you're familiar with the property there between the hotel and the Habitat for Humanity existing development there. There would be quite a bit of change to the neighborhood because the site would need to be completely cleared in order for the project to happen. So even if at second reading you approve this, the construction drawings are approved, and this project gets underway, there still may be questions from the neighborhood about what is happening there. So it's important that you all understand that there'd be a lot of change that would happen because of the alteration to the site to make this everything work for the utilities and for the access. So you can see the zoning of the property is R2A, and that would allow the 16 units that are proposed, detached, separate homes. So this is a micro home community, so a little bit bigger than tiny homes, but not as large as some of the homes that you see being built in more of the traditional subdivisions around the community right now. Comprehensive plan goals, this aligns up with several of those in diversifying the housing stock in the community for both affordability and for the market sector. The developer group, Empower Me and Inclusive Housing Resources, is focusing on the intellectual and development disability market sector for at least 4 of the homes and their families, and they would also meet the affordability index as well. This is a rendering of the development. This is actually the second version that went through staff review before it made it to the Planning Commission in order to have access for large vehicles, fire trucks. This was the design that was approved by staff. There is an on-site detention basin as well, and you can see there's a variety of different sizes of the homes. Some even have garages to provide for some of the parking as well, and then some on-site parking. So this would be a private street and privately maintained utilities and common spaces, but the homes that are on individual lots would be owned by owners. So this would not be a for rent development. This is a slide showing all the new trees that would be planted within and around the perimeter. Quite a few evergreen trees as well, which would help with buffering and screening and kind of softening the edges of the development, because the recommendation from the Planning Commission is to reduce the setbacks around the perimeter just because of how narrow the site is. It made it limiting on, by the time you add the private street and then have the sidewalks and have the homes, there's not a lot of perimeter space left. Typically, a planned development requires a 25-foot buffer around the perimeter, and this would not be able to meet that on all sides because of the narrow width of the lot. And then at the end, you can see a turnaround, which has been found to be compliant with our fire truck to be able to turn around and exit in a forward motion. This is a slide showing an example of some of the homes, very nicely designed architecturally and meet the needs of the proposed purchasers. You can see them 4 different types there. And then along with the recommendation from Planning Commission for waivers and conditions, there are timeframes that are built into the code. There's a waiver on lot coverage, open space, setbacks I mentioned, and also a small waiver on the number of parking spaces, all upon condition that this approval would be for this developer and not another one. And so the idea here is that because of the special nature of the proposed goal of the buyers and the affordability, that it would not be able to be transferred to a different developer and different owner. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance before council?
Ann Fuhr, I live on Dana Drive in Southern Knolls. I'm going to be echoing a lot of what Mr. Perry said, and I'll try to highlight the aspects of what he said that to me are most, amazing's a little strong, but really laudable in this development. Again, I've been a member of the Board of OSH for 3 years, and all along our advocacy group has been pleased with the city's emphasis on the importance of housing for all. And we've put a lot of emphasis in our responses on economic diversity, on socioeconomic resources, on the fact that many people who live in Oxford many people who work in Oxford can't afford to live in Oxford. And so we've focused on the income qualifying dimension of housing for all. But it's really important to understand that very often economic challenges intersect with other aspects of people's lives. And so the mention of the emphasis on the neurodiverse members of our population and their caretakers, and what it means to design truly accessible developments is really important in this effort. And so I really appreciate very much not only the work of the city, but also, of course, of Empower Me Living. I went to several public presentations of Empower Me Living and was impressed not only with the specifics of the development and the design that Mr. Perry identified, but just how committed the group is to understanding the needs in the community and the needs of particular members of our community in their planning and design. And we emphasized at a recent OSHA meeting the importance of a development like this. And I think it's important for members of the public to applaud the work of the developers in the city in promoting this. I also, in listening to Mr. Perry's presentation, appreciate the understanding of the Planning Commission and what it means to have truly accessible housing and how variances and waivers are needed in order to accomplish that in some cases. And I also, of course, appreciate the efficiency, the quickness of pivoting in order to make sure that the ARPA funds, which are time limited, are able to be used for infrastructure. So I support everything that's been said. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anne, would you like a job? Hi, I'm Emily Kendall. I am with Empower Me Living, one of the co-developers. It's nice to see so many familiar faces and welcome some new ones here this evening. I'm honored to be here. I brought my 9-year-old daughter. She's in the 4th grade, and there she is. And my partner, Gina Gem, sends her regards, as does my husband, who is at home with our other kiddos. I'm a parent of a son that has Down syndrome. Emma's younger brother, Luke, has Down syndrome. And he is one of 12,000, well, he will be one of 12,000 adults with developmental disabilities in the 4 counties surrounding Greater Cincinnati, Butler County being one of them, that currently live with caregivers over the age of 60. This is a crisis that is looming, and we haven't seen it. So part of our work as developers is to bring it into the light and come up with new solutions to solve this issue. And we have been really pleased with our very collaborative relationship with the City of Oxford, with Jessica and her team, with Sam and his team, with Chris and his team. Everyone here has really come together to make this project happen. We know that it is unique, and I appreciate Ian's comments that some of the things that we're asking for are a little bit not traditional, but that's what it's going to take. And I just wanted to emphasize additionally that someday when I'm gone, my son Luke will outlive me, and my daughter Emma will likely be in charge of his care. She could be his guardian, or he might be his own guardian. I don't know what that's going to look like. I hope she continues the work that her father and I have set out as well. But how important this is for someone like my son to be able to own his own home. There's a high likelihood that he would rely on supplemental Social Security income, which limits the assets that he can have to $2,000. That's it, $2,000. That's not a month, that's not a year, that's it, that's the number. Owning a home is a protected asset. That is why advancing this model is so important. And we're very pleased. I really don't think that we could have gotten it done in any other place than right here in Oxford, and that is because of the collaborative spirit. And every time I come up here to one of these meetings and just witness everybody coming together to get things done for the greater good of our community, it gives me a lot of hope, and I'm very pleased that I've got to bring my daughter here to see that this evening. So I'm happy to take any questions. I have our fantastic architecture team, MSP, Emily Lubbers, and Jordan Weber, architect, structural, and engineering, so they can answer any technical questions, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Thank you.
I just want to say we are equally as excited about this project as you
Yes.
are. So it's nice to have a developer that we really synergized with for a change and really worked well. Well, council questions or discussion?
I just want to say this is great. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad your daughter's here to see her mom doing great things for the community. This is one of the key goals of the council and has been for the last many, many years, as long as I've been on here, that we want housing for everybody. And this is a property that we have been trying to develop for some time, and you're doing it, and you're doing it in the way that we had hoped that it would be done. And so I couldn't be more for it. There's no possible way I could be more positive. So congratulations, and I hope it all flies through.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I appreciate the community around Hester, because, you know, for some time, there's been some questions, what's happening here? And, you know, the city has learned through trial and error, some things don't always work as planned, but good things come to those who wait. And so I encourage the community members there to be part of the process and to be open to the wonderful opportunity that's coming our way. So thank you.
All right, we'll see this again in a couple weeks. We will move on to second readings. Ms. Barber, you may read our only second reading.
An ordinance levying upon the lots and lands enumerated in the list of estimated assessments and the amounts set forth on such list and setting forth terms for payment of assessments.
All right, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor French, seconded by Councilor Snavely, and I'll go to Mr. Dreisbach.
Again, this is the fourth and final piece of legislation for 2025's Special Assessment Curb Gutter Sidewalk Program. Only 3 minor changes in Exhibit A. 3 payments were made, and those properties have been removed from the list. Other than that, no changes, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance before council? All right, seeing none, I think there may be some council questions and discussion.
Yes.
Councilor Ellis?
All right, thank you. I have some questions about the second reading of the ordinance. I must say I was really surprised at the enormity of the edits that took place to get us to this week. The initial reading of this resolution was, I'm looking at the wrong thing here, had 9 sections, and the one that we're presented with today has been edited down to 3 sections. And in addition to that, there's some new information that has been included in the revised ordinance that if it had been included in the first reading, I might not have a question now. And that is the second part of the whereas pursuant to revised code section 729.08 about the published notice in the Journal News that apparently began on Sunday, October 12th, and ran through Sunday, October 26th. Now, that particular bit of information was not in the first reading. And one of the things that I find critical here and of note is the fact that if we look at it on the face of it, it's basically a 2-week notice. And I know that for myself, anyway, I would have missed that. And I'm curious as to where exactly that notice was printed. Was it in the city section? Was it in the classifieds? I just want to know, in terms of notice for the public to know, to respond to this, that seems like a very short window, 2 weeks. I understand that there were letters sent out, but I will just admit here right now, I found a pile of mail from the fall. I was a little busy. That was from this period. If I had gotten a letter, I would have missed it and had just gone through it. And so having this posted only 2 weeks in the Journal News does not seem significant in terms of time of posting. It's almost like posting it in the Federal Register. It's like, how many people read the Federal Register unless you're working with the feds? And so I am concerned about that lack of announcement, the amount of time that it was out there. And so it seems like maybe we could step back for a second and maybe possibly put it in there for, say, a month or two, or even 3 months. Sometimes when you see these things, these sorts of things advertised, they're in the public sphere for a couple of months, could even be 90 days and not 2 weeks. So the other part of this that I am also concerned about is the Section 2, property owners may pay the assessment in 5 annual installments, interest deferred 5%, conversely, within 30 days. Now, if it's in 30 days with the enactment of this ordinance, that also seems like a little bit of a short window to me. A reasonable amount of time might be 60 to 90 days. Maybe I'm wrong. I see you they're shaking your head, Bill. But 30 days is a really short window, especially at this particular time. You know, we have a lot of people right now who are struggling financially, and it's a bit of a surprise. This is a big leap for a lot of people to come up with the amount of cash that some of the property owners are going to have to pay. So I guess, once again, in terms of a little leniency and elbow room for the homeowners, the property owners, that they maybe have a little more time at this particular point. What would it hurt to wait until March, for example, or April? That's just my thinking on this. And then too, such a reduction in the scope of the writing of this piece is a little surprise to me, to go from 9 sections to 3 sections. So,
I'll try to answer your questions.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
a lot wrapped up in there. We follow Ohio Revised Code. We exceed what's required of the code by providing extra notice by mailing to the property owners. Former Mayor Snavely requested that we do that a few years ago, and we've been following that practice. We advertise in the newspaper of general circulation of record, Hamilton Prep, or Hamilton Journal News. We do so for 3 consecutive weeks, not 2. So that was done on October 12th, 19th, and 26th. So there are 3 printed advertisements in the classified ads legal section. As I said, we provide an extra mailing letting you know what your obligation is and give you the opportunity at that time to pay the fee or to continue through the process. Most property owners at that point have already decided, and they've told us this, they've already decided if they're going to go through the assessment process or pay the invoice and just be done with it. So we advertise 3 times. They get a special notice exceeding the requirements of Ohio Revised Code. It's council's choice, but we do follow Revised Code with the interest rate that's recommended and the term. That's all prescribed in the code.
Okay.
Mike,
All right.
I
Just-
appreciate
What
the
was that?
question and the concern.
Yeah.
I would just point out that this is not a surprise to people.
Right.
Because it's been going on all year, and they've had work done in front of their house, so they've known about it. I think the whole time that I was mayor and on council previously, the only time we had a problem was somebody who wanted to pay it off, and it was going to be put onto their taxes, and they were getting ready to sell the property. And changes were made that you see here that allows them to pay it off. I think that works really well, and the people involved thanked me for that and thanked staff for that, and that they were able to to handle it. I just think that this has been going on for a whole year. And there are 4 steps along the way, so they were told about it in advance. They were mailed something individually. They see it, and then they see it in the newspaper, and that's just really, I think, a formality, because at this point, they all know about it. Now, I would be shocked if there was somebody who didn't know what was going on at this point.
Can I also ask a clarifying question? I have in the meeting for tonight and the meeting from 2 weeks ago, my ordinance in first and second reading is both 3 sections.
Right.
In the resolution, so the first step in the process, the resolution we looked at 2 weeks ago was 9 sections.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
just want to make sure that
Okay.
there's, yeah, so I
That's
just
what I'm
wanted to
saying.
clarify. Yeah, so the second reading and the first reading only have the changes that Mike addressed for
Right.
us. But the first step in the process is that 9 section.
Which
Yes.
is referred to
And
as
that-
a resolution of necessity by
Right.
statute. So it's a multi-step legislative process that has a resolution of necessity followed up by an ordinance. And I think Heather wanted to make a comment about the additional steps.
Yeah, this year was the first year that we also advertised for the same amount of time in the Oxford Free Press.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
that's what thank you for saying that, because I was going to ask about that, why that wasn't mentioned. Okay, I feel a little better about that now. Okay.
Just a
Thank you.
clarifying question. So what we did in the last council meeting with the resolution, step 1, that was for 2026, right?
Correct.
This is, now we're talking about 2025.
This
This
is
is the last step of
this is the very
2025.
end of
So
last year's
this is
program.
separate. This is completely separate from what we did.
2 different
the first
projects.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
I guess I just felt a little squeezed by some of these numbers, you know, the amount of time that people had. I understand that there is a process, you know, something happens in the year up to now. The work gets done, it gets evaluated, people are informed, but it just seemed that the window of time to respond was a little tight. And so that's just one of my
To put your mind at
concern.
ease, our special mailing put people on notice of the cost several months ago.
Oh, okay.
It's not like this is being sprung on.
You happen to walk in at the very last step of the process. Had you been involved in the first step, the questions would
Yeah,
have
yeah,
been,
yeah.
would have been evident in some
Yeah.
way, but they're
Yeah.
fair if you aren't familiar with the
Yeah,
process.
Yes. Well, but I still have a question about the window. I mean, that jumped out to me, and that's what I'm mostly responding to. It just seems, if you put whatever the date was, October 12th, the 19th, and the 26th, well, it's 3 notices, but the response time is really about like 2 to 3 weeks. That seems really short to me. I personally, I would
But
have
they can
missed
still
it.
respond between now and then.
Okay.
So that whole,
Yeah.
the notice is simply saying this event is going to occur. They can still always respond, which I think was what Counselor Snavely's comment was, and that staff would respond to that, which is, we follow the law and actually exceed what the notice says, and this is the process that is followed in every community in Ohio.
Okay, all right. So of those 33 properties that were initially on there, and then we had 3 payments made on a couple of those properties.
I believe it was
Of
5.
those, they did respond and they paid. So how many of the people responded of those other 20-something people? Did people call the office, or?
I'm sorry, what is your question?
How many of the other people who did not pay, are they just going to let it be added to their county tax bill? Is
Yes,
that what's going to
Many of
happen?
them just told us in our communication with them, you know, we interact with the property owners quite a bit. As soon as we mark defective areas and put white dots on your sidewalk or curb, that generates many, many phone calls.
Uh-huh.
We interact with property owners through the entire process. Many of them volunteer that they're in a position to pay and they're just going to pay cash. Many say, there's no way I can pay this.
Okay.
They're relieved to know that they can pay it over 5 years' time at a minimal interest rate. So,
All right.
again, this is not a surprise to them, and many of them share their intent to go to special assessment or to pay.
Okay.
But very few are surprised.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. I just responded to that squeeze, what I felt like was a squeeze, but I guess in the long term, it really isn't.
It's literally almost a year's process now.
Okay. And I have seen those white dots on the sidewalk. Fortunately, not at my house.
I appreciate where your heart's at. That's great. I'm very happy with the communication. Thank you, and thanks staff
Okay.
for making all the modifications.
Yes, thank
The-
you all for the clarification.
The only question I have left is, which might still come from where you were coming from, is would it be problematic, trouble, or objectionable to make it 2 months instead of 1 month?
What
terms of
problem
the
are you
ordinance.
trying
Yeah,
to
this-
solve?
She's worried about a squeeze, and
Have you
I don't
heard
think-
from people who are upset
No.
about something that has worked so well for so many years? I'm just curious.
it's not always well. I do hear complaints, but I'm not responding to a complaint now. My only question was, if it's not a burden to us, then it doesn't matter.
So if I could, because of how government works, not always the most speedy thing, you'll approve this ordinance hopefully tonight. It takes 30 days for it to become effective. The reality of the matter is, by the time the finance director certifies this to the county auditor and treasurer, it's going to take more than 30 days additional to get certified to their taxes. So it will take longer.
That was already, like, I assume that was the case. My only question was, again, I think a little differently. If something doesn't matter, then you can do it and not sustain any negative consequences, and there are only benefits. So if it's problematic because the interest we pay on that extra month shouldn't be paid and they have plenty of time, here's your answer. Does that make sense to people?
Well, it's
I'm
not so
perfectly
much
fine
the
leaving it as it
interest.
is, but the question wasn't that.
It's not so
Yes.
much the interest, it's if you'll, and I don't have my budget with me, but we're counting on monies coming back in to replenish that.
Right.
And, we're getting it over 5 years, so if we don't get it in at a certain cutoff time, then we're not gonna see that money until the following year, so.
And I didn't mean the 5 years. That's a great plan to have an option
Yeah.
for. But if we made it, it wasn't even for this. If we made it 60 days instead of 30, would staff object? Because that's problematic to our billing process, because the interest we pay on that extra month or anything else, that's all.
That's a good, that's what
And
it
if
was.
the
With all due
answer-
respect, I think there are a lot of problems that we have that need solutions. And with all due respect, I think you're coming up with a solution for a problem that does not exist. So I understand your point.
So are you asking that, that instead of publishing the notice in the journal paper for 21
No.
days, we publish it for 30 days?
No, he
No.
wants 60 days
No, and
for
I
people
don't
to
even want to.
pay
I'm
after
sorry.
the ordinance is
I think like a
passed.
computer, and these things are logistically.
Why not have 10 years after?
I know why, because that would be highly problematic. So my question was,
Well, I think the city manager has said it would be problematic at 60.
then we were done, if that was the answer. But I can never get a straight answer of yes or no on what I feel are simple questions. Yes, it's problematic. Okay, well then, let's move on.
Yeah, and that one line there, the thing that initially jumped out at me was, upon passage of this ordinance, an owner may pay cash for the assessment within 30 days. That just seemed like really tight all of a sudden. So, yeah, another.
The awareness happens before that, and even the processing happens before that was included. My question was a separate matter, but.
And I think we've had at least one person that came in after the 30 days, and we took the money and took them off the list. So, we don't have any indication that these folks want more time.
And some of them have already paid, so they're
Yes.
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
of their amount,
Okay.
so, yeah. Okay. We ready to vote?
Please.
All right. Ms. Barber, will you call the roll?
Ms. Ornelas,
Yes.
Mr. Snavely,
Yes.
Mr. Vinch,
Yes.
Mr. Bracken,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Ms. French,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes. All right, that ordinance is passed. We will move on to announcements and communications. And I'll start with City Manager Elliott.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things. I shared with council that we were planning a groundbreaking ceremony for our solar project at the wastewater treatment plant, and we've set a date of April 22nd, which of course is Earth Day, and I believe we're going to have it at 3 p.m. So mark your calendars. I think we'll send an invite out to City Council to remind you. The project is moving along quite nicely. They've already ordered the inverters. There are 4 of those. They've ordered the solar panels, 2,520 of those. And the interconnection application to Duke Energy has occurred as well. So things are moving along as planned. We're very excited about this project. The other thing that I want to share with you, after 3 snow events, I believe our amended snow ordinance has been successful. Of the 982 parcels on the snow routes in US 27, only 239 parcels, or 24%, failed to clear snow by 7 a.m. on December 3rd. The second snow event, with December 13th, 244 parcels, or 25%, failed to clear the snow by the required time. And the most recent snow event, which of course was the most snow that we've had, with an estimated 16 inches of snowfall, had only 217 parcels, or 22.1%, that failed to clear the sidewalks by 8 a.m. Tuesday. So staff and I have observed that many more property owners beyond the US 27 and snow routes have cleared snow off of their sidewalks. And so we're very thankful for that. So I believe that this was a result of the new snow ordinance plus the city's messaging. We've taken a lot of phone calls from property owners about the ordinance, and we're doing our very best to answer it. And hopefully Mother Nature will be kind to us and no more snow for the rest of the year, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all I have tonight.
All right. Mr. Dreisbach?
Just a few thank yous. Thank you for today's 1.5-inch snowfall, that it was not 3 inches. So we were very pleased with that. Thank you to the public. This was a generational snowstorm. I'm still somewhat amazed at the patience of property owners that understood that secondary streets get plowed secondarily and primary streets go first. People move their cars out of their neighborhoods into their driveways to try to help us to do our jobs. The vast majority of people shoveled their sidewalks and their neighbors' sidewalks. So great to see that. Thanks to the police for enforcing our snow emergency routes. That not only helps the public get around, it helps fire engines and ambulances and other police to respond to emergency calls. Makes our life easier, makes us more effective, but it's improves public safety. Mainly thank you to our service department employees. As I've told you before, we're an aging group, but they still get excited and they still attack these types of storms. I'm amazed at the long hours they still put in. They drive thousands of miles for a storm like this. We had one incident where a plow bumped a car. We did shatter a window, so it was not a perfect event, but the skills of these guys is just amazing. We practice in October. We go down to the county engineer's lot and have a snowplow rodeo, and the guys compete with each other. You're on the clock and you can't touch any obstacles. And that's all fun and good, and there's bragging rights. But I'm amazed at driving thousands of miles in town, sometimes with 2 inches of clearance on each side of your truck, that we don't have more incidents. The guys work, and gals, work long hours. They do primary streets, secondary streets, alleys the best we can. Alleys are a tough breed. There's just nowhere to put the snow. I'm sure you get complaints, and we do the best we can. We do other public facilities, the parking garage, surface parking lots, all the city property sidewalks, and it takes a good amount of time to do all of those. And again, just wanted to thank our operators for this response to this generational storm, and I hope we're done for a while. So thank you.
Thank you. Chief Jones. Ms. Ridenour?
Good evening. I just have one thing. We are full audit with the Auditor of State's office right now. They were able to start us very early this year, which we are very thankful for. But as a reminder, please check your emails because I'm not sure what they're going to send you this year. I know last year was a little bit of a struggle trying to get some responses back. But if they do send something to your email, please respond in a timely fashion because they do have a time limit on us. And then they'll start sending a little bit grumpier notifications. And then they'll be like, all right, sorry, your time's up. So if you could just pay attention, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chief Deathridge? Mr. Smith? Mr. Perry?
On the HAPC agenda next week is the former Follett's 110 East High Street. So there was a complaint last round from the previous approval that there wasn't enough notification or awareness of the public that wanted to comment on the design before it was voted on. So just letting everyone know if they want to join the HAPC meeting next Wednesday at 6 p.m. here. The city manager's office has been involved in trying to make that project happen as well. Staff requested a zoning code amendment to facilitate first floor tenant as well. So we're hoping to see something happen there in the next year or so.
All right, thanks. Ms. Green?
Good evening. First, Heather and I snuck a peek. Go Miami, 73-71 over Buffalo. Woo woo. Okay. Second, it is really fun to work with students. And Counselor Franklin and I had the privilege of attending the mural class this morning that is going to be painting a mural in the Duke substation. It was really great to interact with them, hear their ideas, talk with them. And I'm also grateful to Duke for providing the grant to help make this project possible. So thank you to Duke Energy for that. And that'll be something to look forward to this spring. And then finally, I also want to thank the service team for clearing, more clearing, taking a break for a water main break. They're all the same team. And so just an amazing thank you to your team. And also to everyone who helped with enforcement. And then especially thank you to my team for the calls, and the more calls. And for answering really hard questions. And so I'm grateful to all of them that we all step up during big challenging events like this. So thanks.
Ms. Barber?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Kennard? Mr. Snavely?
Three things. Number one, Jessica just stole my thunder, but I think we should take note whenever our local university is doing well, and 23-0 is quite a record to start the season with, and they're a lot of fun to watch, and it's been great. Second, I wanted to just congratulate the service team again. Michael, they just do a great job, and I want them to know that there are people in this town who notice and appreciate it. And when I talk to my friends in other communities, if they have to come into Oxford, they always say, I'm so glad when I get to Oxford because everything's taken care of. And that's not always the case where they happen to live. So they do a great job. The third thing is a sad thing. I wanted to mark the passing of a friend of mine for over 50 years. Bill Hauk is somebody who served the university as a professor, but he also served the community. He served on the Board of Zoning Appeals, he served on HAPC, and he served on the Planning Commission. He was a public servant. He gave every bit of himself to the community, and he will be missed. And I will miss my friend.
Mr. Finch?
Nothing from me.
Vice Mayor French?
Yeah, I would also, not only is the basketball team doing really well, but the hockey team's doing pretty well, and the women's basketball team is doing really well. As an alumni, I don't know what to do with my hands. This is very exciting. And I also want to continue the thank you train to Mike and the service team. I've seen them out at so many hours of the evening just trying to keep up with this massive snow dump. And I was also, I love winter more than anything. And this morning when I saw it snowing, I was like, you better not. So fortunately, it was only 1.5 inches. Lastly, in a time when you say the word government and people's hairs on the back of their neck stand up, it was really great to have our retreat on Friday. The theme song to Parks and Rec was playing in my head all day. Jessica, thank you so much. It truly does make what we do, it takes, the hairs on the back of your neck stand down. It really reminds us all that local government is here for our constituents, it's for the residents. We just want to help people, and you all let us do that. And it was said in the room, but I want to say it again, just a couple of things. Thank you, all of the department heads were there. Jessica coordinated everything really beautifully. And to all of your teams, thank you so much for all of the work that they do, because we get to see you all every couple of weeks, and more often than that, if we're lucky, we very rarely get to interact with your staffs, and they are all so incredible. So thank you to the staff. And then I would also say, I had another thank you. Oh, dang it. Oh, yes, now I remember. If you wonder why in FY27 or the remainder of FY26, it's wow, council's not really proposing anything that's massive. It's because the city staff is already doing so much that's on our dream big list that it's hard for us to dream bigger than we're dreaming right now. So just, again, an incredible thank you to the staff for delivering on all of these pie-in-the-sky ideas that we have, making them a reality, and doing all of that on top of your day-to-day operations and being public-facing and having just a stellar level of community service. So thank you all so incredibly much for all that you do. I'm honored to work with such a great group of people, so thank you.
Councilor French?
Franklin. Both AF. Yeah. We have mind melts all the time. I also want to echo what's been said about staff and our retreat. It was wonderful. And a big thank you to Miami University's Department of Art and Professor Michael Stillian and his mural class. I really want us to value art and how important it is to society. At a time when universities are struggling so much with funding, oftentimes the first programs to get cut are art and music. But I was really impressed by the students who were in the class today. And it's been a while since I've been in a classroom with so many different students from different departments all together, some having some mural experience, some not. And we got to have a little bit of a sneak peek at the brainstorming that's been happening for the Duke mural, and we're excited. It's wonderful. So thank you, and thank you to Jessica and Ashley and Heather. Thank you all for just the organizing that you're doing around that. I also want to I need to speak to the pain that many people are feeling and experiencing in our country right now. It is really hard to look at the images happening around the country in big cities and in small towns, and to see the cruelty that is being unleashed upon our land. It's hard. It's really painful. There's really a very short and straight line between a candidate who runs calling immigrants vermin who are poisoning the blood of the country, and then a president who violates the constitutional rights of citizens that we have assumed were the safest among us, right? White citizens of the United States who've been here for generations, but yet we're seeing it. One thing that I want to say is that I think there's a lot of frustration because we see people maybe who didn't think it was possible until they saw themselves represented on the receiving end of the cruelty. But I think we have to have some compassion, because I think there's some level of human nature where even those of us who are the most compassionate still feel something a little bit more deeply when we see someone who looks or sounds or feels like us receiving cruelty. So yes, we would like for people to feel like if it can happen to them, it can happen to me. But I think there's some level of human nature where we just respond differently. I want us all to understand how inextricably linked our fates are in this country. You look at, I'll end there with that, but I also want to say that I pay close attention every time an officer in Oxford is sworn in, and I couldn't write fast enough to keep up with the oath, but I wrote a few notes, and I want the community to pay attention that our officers take an oath to uphold, to support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Ohio, and to apply the law fairly and equally to all persons, solely in the interest of public peace, safety, and welfare. And if all people who were in charge of enforcing the law actually lived up to that oath, we'd be in a very different place. But I am grateful for the leadership in Oxford. I'm grateful for law enforcement at the local level who take this oath, take it seriously, and live by it. And let us support each other, because we are going to need each other. It's not going to be a quick fix at all. But we have to contribute to this country in ways that we might not see the benefits of, but children, nieces, grandchildren, that they will see the benefits of. So we got to roll up our sleeves and start working together.
Yeah, to follow up on that, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have to happen to you for it to matter to others, and it shouldn't have to happen to others for it to matter to you. We are in this together, and I hope people stay strong and hopeful and responsive to everything that's going on. And with that big national level thing, I'd like to bring it back locally and say thank you again to our staff for everything, and also the water main breaks on top of all the snow removal is just crazy. And though I feel a little frustrated today, it is nice living in a city where government functions and people care about each other and they get stuff done and it's on behalf of each other. It's like the only relief I have in the big picture right now. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you. I just want to share with Mike as well that throughout the past couple of weeks, I've had several people stop me in various businesses, whether it's in the fruits and vegetables or having a cup of coffee, expressing to me their doubt in the beginning about the snow ordinance, but then saying how much they enjoy being able to walk their dog without having to worry about the snow and slipping. So thanks again to the crew for doing such a great job. I'd also like to second and third the comments that were made about the council retreat. Because as a newbie and having gone through that for the first time, it was enlightening, but it also was so wonderful to be in a space where we're all together and talking about our vision for this year and for the years to come. And I just would like to say and express my gratitude for all of you who shared your work, what you're doing, your plans, and how we're putting the pieces together to help advance the future health of our city. And I was really impressed by that, and I thought about it quite a bit over the past weekend, and also felt a lot of gratitude for each of you. I know behind the scenes, I can't imagine the number of phone calls you got in the office, because I got things coming at me too. But anyway, thank you all for sharing your visions and your accomplishments. And thank you all for being a part of that process too. It helped me to get a little more connected to my fellow counselors as well. So it was really a enlightening and uplifting experience for me personally. So thank you all.
All right, I'll keep this short, but I'm going to pile on with the service division because I asked Mr. Dreisbach last week to give me a few choice statistics, which he left out of his talk. I specifically asked him how many trucks we had we could put plows on. So really, Streets and Maintenance has 5 dump trucks and 4 pickup trucks, so that's 9. They can borrow 3 dump trucks from Water Distribution if we don't need them to fix water main breaks. So also a big shout out to Water Distribution. We're up to 7 breaks in about 7 days, and some of those on very, very, very cold days. We maintain 120 miles of roadway and 5.5 miles of alleys. So that's one pass at 125 miles. And, you know, during that snowstorm, they came by my house, I don't know, 10 times. So multiply that. In addition to doing the city-owned sidewalks and the city-owned parking lots, and also that army of dump trucks that hauled all the snow off of High Street last week so we could resume commerce as normal. So I think we're all very grateful. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Stay here.
Thank you.
Can I say something? If I ask, I feel like I'm getting sole positions before the question's getting answered. So when I ask a question like, is it problematic to extend it? It doesn't mean I want to extend it. It's an opportunity for somebody to say, it is problematic because it will cost money or it'll be logistically problematic. So don't fight me. Can we just answer the question?
Hey, Mike,
I was thinking about
we
that.
forgot to follow up on the
I'm getting phone